You're now tapped into Mighty Morphing Reptiles Live. And I'm your host, Ryan. And if you guys are new to this channel, I just want to say that this channel is basically about reptiles and amphibians. You know, it's a little bit of a broad topic with this channel. I do content from such as classic pet tuber style. I'm also a reptile breeder, so I love making content of hatching babies, going behind the scenes. I love showing the good, the bad, the ugly, and just the damn straight truth when it comes to breeding. Because let's admit it, we all need just the straight truth when it comes to that. And then I also do these live stream podcasts, community style streams, as because, you know, at the end of the day, a lot of us just want to actually have like just some real conversation, some real world things, you know, and I just love actually talking about it. And, you know, with my travels throughout the country, I make a lot of new friends. And now doing these live streams more, I feel like I could actually spend some more time actually engaging with these people that I meet. Because let's face it, when you meet them at a show, you don't really have enough time to actually like really get to know them. But during these streams, I feel like I could really help share their stories that can really help people. So I really am trying to do these streams more often. But today's episode or today's podcast is going to be about this ethics of chameleon or selling chameleon eggs. And you know, a lot of people will find a lot of new chameleon enthusiasts will find this enticing, right? They'll see a pretty picture of this chameleon and they're like, huh, I can get this egg for a lot cheaper and raise it and watch it grow myself. And you know, I want to show you guys an example of something. So before I got home and got ready to do this live stream, my best friend right here gave me this little seed right here. This is a bonsai seed, right? And you see that little sprout popping out? It started to germinate. And you know, when he first showed me that picture, hold on, let me pull this picture up for you guys so I can show you what I'm talking about. So when he pulled up this picture and showed me, I was like, damn, this thing is beautiful. And you know, once he was like, hey man, I'll give you a germinated seed. And I'm just like, yeah, why not? So I got really excited, really enticed for this. And that's the damn same thing when it comes to like getting a chameleon egg, right? But let me ask you guys this. How many people here in the group chats right now have a green thumb? I'll tell you this, when I first started learning about plants, I could not keep them alive for crap, dude. Let me know right now in the chats, can you guys keep a plant alive? And the reason why I brought up the seed is because it's basically the same concept with a chameleon egg. And, you know, one of my co-hosts today on this chat or on this podcast made a promotional post. And there was some guy talking about on his post saying, oh, you guys are just haters. You guys are just jealous because he's making more money than you guys, blah, blah, blah. And you know what, dude? If he would have read the title clearly, we're talking about the ethics. And we're not talking about just making money only when it comes to selling chameleon eggs. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I could give two freaking damns about making money on chameleons nowadays. Like, don't get me wrong. About 2-3 years ago, I was able to put $40,000 down on my house because of selling chameleons. But you know what? After all that, after all the hard work I went through, all the customer service, this and that, dude, I realized, dude, I don't like breeding chameleons as a business, dude. It's such a pain in the ass, especially with the babies, dude. And so I could really give a crap about that. And I'm just saying to the people who think we're haters out here, no, this episode's about the ethics of selling chameleon eggs. And before we dive into the actual episode today, I need to go over some housekeeping. So if you guys would like to support this channel, you can support this channel for as little as $1 a month by joining the Patreons. And I want to say thank you to all the Patreon supporters. You help continue animal education. And with just $1 a month, you'll actually get your name on the end screens of my videos. And if you guys have a question that you must have answered today, feel free to drop a super chat. And if you guys don't want to do that, think about maybe buying a shirt. I got hard printed t-shirts at home right now that I ship myself. And, you know, for my co-host here today, I have my chameleon brother, Mitch, in the house. And, you know, this is one of my best friends in the reptile community. You know, when it comes to stuff, I'm a little more hard-headed. I have a lot of passion for animals, but I'm a little more hard-headed and strict. And sometimes I'll admit, like, you know, I could be a little rational sometimes, you know. It's kind of like I don't see it from the other side, but like my buddy Mitch, he's more like he's more on my frequency level. We vibe a lot and stuff, and he kind of helps me see things from a different perspective. So I'm very glad to have him on today, as he's going to help me really see things from a different light. And then for my second co-host today, I have John from Ipardalis. Now, well, this guy's really nerdy, but he is damn smart. He's the good kind of nerdy. You know, me and Mitch, we're a little silly ding dongs. We're more fun probably than him, but you know what? He is. I love talking to him because he brings the science to it all. And you know what? Out of the three musketeers on this podcast today, John from Ipardalis is the brains of the three musketeers. So I'm excited to get into this. And now I'll bring my guests on the stage. We got Mitch here. Give him a round of applause, everyone. And then we got the brains over here. How's it going, John? Excited to have you here today.
What's going on, guys?
Yeah. But okay, guys. So, you know, this is going to be not just a one-sided podcast. There's going to be a lot of people here thinking like, oh, what's wrong with just buying a chameleon egg? Well, you know, I'm going to be honest. There are some pros to it. You know, there are some pros to it. But I honestly think there's a lot more negatives to it. And I'm going to start. So I figured we start off with talking about maybe a little bit of pros first. And I'll go first. So, you know, one pro I think could be beneficial to someone buying an egg is for like the chameleon breeders. Let's say there's a project, for instance, let's say I have some cat-best chameleon eggs and there's not very many of them out there. And people just, another breeder has this female, but he just doesn't want to buy a male, blah, blah, blah. And so what? Maybe he buys a chameleon egg off me and I sell it to a breeder. But wait a minute, that's unethical. Well, if I was to sell a chameleon egg to anyone myself, it would only be to a chameleon breeder. That's it. I would not want to sell it personally myself to another person there. So, you know, it could be beneficial to breeders selling eggs to each other just to help get projects going, you know, less maintenance for the actual breeder raising babies because raising babies suck. And so next up, so that's my pro on that. And, you know, I thought it'd be kind of fun for John and Mitch. I don't know who to have go first, but I'm going to flip a coin. All right, John, heads or tails?
Tails.
Tails? Okay.
Yeah.
And you lost. It was Mitch. Mitch, your head. So you tell me one pros you think about that could happen from selling chameleon eggs.
Well, one thing that I think is something really good for kids and or for a classroom setting or for a science class in school is watching the cycle of an egg developing and then hatching. Just like, chickens, if you guys remember in like elementary school, the teachers would get chickens and, I sure loved it, checking on the eggs every day, seeing them hatch and just raising these little cute little chickens. It was a great experience and it taught me a lot about life, what an egg does, how it fosters the beginning to life for these living creatures that we then get to enjoy. And, the whole cycle. I think it's an awesome educational experience and it's great for kids.
How often did the chicken die, Mitch?
Yeah, so honestly, it never ever died, but definitely were eggs missing, and sometimes the chickens would disappear, and they'd tell me it went to a new place or something like that. So I don't know when I was that young, but I know baby chicks are fragile too, and eggs do go bad, and even though those types of eggs can be moved and shaken because that's how they are, incubated, there still were complications. But as a young kid, I never.
No, I know.
Yeah, good question.
It's an important lesson for kids. I think, when I was growing up, I learned about death through because I was a bug nerd, reptile nerd. I kept a lot of bugs in jars that didn't make it. When I was under 5, my parents were watching me closely, right? But I think that's what's a little bit different is like we're not under 5 anymore, and obviously with supervision, you can achieve higher survival rates, but at the end of the day, I feel like survival is what I'm looking for. But I know what you mean. It's the experience and the educational value which is there. I think it's my turn to do a positive. Is that right?
Wait, real quick though. No, I can totally agree with you, Mitch. You know, like you guys ever heard chia pets? That little like ceramic, like little hedgehog thing, and then you plant all the
Yeah,
seeds on
yeah,
the back of it and watch it grow. I
yeah. It's
kind of
cool.
feel like that is like how people would like see a chameleon egg, or like kind of the example with the bonsai tree. So yeah, of course, it's really enticing for people to see that. Totally. But yeah, it is your
Yeah.
turn now on one pro that you think for selling a chameleon egg.
I would say one pro is that besides the managing the numbers, uh, when an egg hatches out in an environment by itself, it's not exposed to any contagion risk from other animals in the vicinity. So, say like disease or parasites. I if an egg hatches out by itself, it's not going to get itself sick for the most part.
Question though, I've heard in the past 10 years that if a gravid female panther chameleon, for example, has a high level of coccidia, that can
Yeah,
actually transfer to the egg. Is that true?
yeah. There's a number of species, especially Aesospora, that family of coccidia. It has vertical transmission via like from the mother to the child through the egg. So yes, there's still a risk for certain parasites being sent with the egg to the new place, but there's other parasites where that will break the direct life cycle. So
Cool. Cool.
so yeah.
That's actually pretty interesting, you know? Yeah, but you know,
You, also, I would just say one more pro. Let's just say you are breeding chameleons, but realize you're a little in over your head, and something comes up in your life.
Yeah,
Selling the eggs to make sure that they, not shipping them, but selling them locally to someone that is experienced, ideally, um, is a good way to, not set those eggs up for failure. Like, let's just say you have too much on your plate, the eggs hatch, it's like, oh my gosh, they're not going to be your priority, which they kind of need to be since they're so fragile. That is another pro, is to be able to, finding someone in a better place to take care of them. I would think.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Sorry to interrupt, Brian.
oh no, you're totally good. And now let's start talking about some of the negatives here. So who wants to start? I think we should talk about really the downfall of what really happens with people. Like the trauma wise.
sure. I mean, the the biggest thing is they're an advanced reptile. So I mean, I think everybody on this live stream knows that panthers are not as easy as many other reptiles to raise. The babies are hard to work with, um, and so I know with my first clutch, I lost as 7 babies in my first clutch, and I was using top of the line equipment. I did my best research, and um, I lost 7, and so and I think it was 7 out of 21 or something. I think it was 7 out of 21. 21 hatched. I got 14 to 3 months of age, and people don't usually talk about that because they're kind of embarrassed, and um, it's sad, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that was my first clutch, and I continue to get better. And I know you guys have been through that cycle, but um, to me, the fact that you can have people who are looking to try to become experts in this still failing at it, and and no, we're not talking about impulse buys or just like someone who's trying to learn about science. We're talking about people who are trying to do this professionally or in an expert way, still having difficulty with it.
I mean, I
And I think,
still have difficulties. I've been
yeah,
doing this for 10 years, and I don't have 100% survival rate. Sometimes, the gene pool or isn't as strong as I would like it to be, or sometimes the babies hatch earlier than they should have.
Yep.
You know, and it's just like a premature anything. They come
Yeah.
out
It's
smaller, they
fall.
come out weaker, and just don't always have that higher, you know, chance to survive.
And you know how some reptiles lay so many damn eggs, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think they lay
Panther.
so many eggs? Because they are not, all of them are not meant to survive from just like natural causes, from like, let's say, a predator getting them, or just a weak gene pool. And let's face the facts, chameleons are not a strong survival really animal. Yeah, they have like that supposedly master of blending in disguise thing, but like realistically it's just they're not all meant to make it. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, think about it, dude. Even to this day, man, like, I don't know why people brag so much about like having so many like chameleons hatching rate like actually happening, or all the chameleons to make it. Like, dude, I haven't bred as much as you guys, but like, just to keep it real, like, still to this day I lose a few chameleons out of the clutch. And like, every time, like we were saying earlier, it is kind of embarrassing to admit, like, hey, these things happen. But like, I feel like at the end of the day, too, if you're like honest with people about it, they kind of respect it more because they see value out of it as like, hey, it kind of helps with people for new breeders, like, hey, I lost a couple, it's something to be expected.
Well, yeah. If you're someone like me that's very sensitive and that takes anything, like I take a lot of things in life personally. So for me, like before I really understood how chameleons work, and I'd lose, like hatching chameleons work, and I'd lose some babies, I'd start mentally beating myself up. Like, what did I do wrong? Why can't I do this? I'm putting so much work into this. Like, why do I keep screwing up? And it wasn't until I hear from other breeders, because yes, like in terms of like the community and online, a lot of people are, mainly sharing the goods and the positives and not sometimes the reality of things. And once I started talking to people and hearing that it is a reality, I kind of was able to breathe a little more, because I didn't beat myself up as much, and that could be very exhausting,
Yeah.
and mentally draining. So,
And
of course, yeah.
yeah, no, I think one of the things on the ethical side of this is that people selling eggs are not being real with people. They're saying, "Oh, it's easy," and like anybody can do it. You just spritz them a couple times and give them fruit flies and they're going to be good, like or they say it's like it's the same as an adult. And whatever myth it is that they're using to try to sell their eggs or like push it out, that's not ethical by itself, because they're not being real with people. They're not setting them up to understand the risks and then saying, "Hey, do you want an egg?" Like they're lying to people, right? And that to me is on an ethical level is where I don't like that, right? People are like, "Oh, I have 100% success with it." I'm like, no one has 100% success with cams. Like chameleons, you can't have 100% success with. You're lying, right? And
Exactly.
anybody who's worked with it knows, and anybody who's worked with chameleons knows that that's just a lie, and that's not ethical.
Mhm.
So baseline right there. That's one thing I don't like personally. And then you start to get into other levels of lies where they're like, "Oh, I know they're all male eggs," or like whatever it is. But I I'm telling, like, it starts with the easy lies and it gets to these really big lies. And so the ethics of it all are like, that's what gets me going, is like, I'm just like, guys, come
Yeah.
on.
And
Well,
hey, can we talk real quick about how much chameleon eggs are going for nowadays?
Yeah.
Holy crap, dude. Like, before, I remember someone was telling me they sold eggs like 8 years ago off like eBay. I think like for an egg shipped through eBay, they were going for like $60 like
Yeah,
eight
60
years
bucks.
ago. And
No, yeah.
yeah,
And
and like
today it's like 200
nowadays,
bucks.
dude, like I kind of looked into the market. You know, someone was selling eggs at a show locally near me just last January, which caught me off guard. Caught me off guard. And I was like, oh, dang. Well, okay. I think they were selling it for like 140, 150 bucks. And I'm just like, what? What are you talking about, dude? Do you know how stupid chameleon eggs are to get for breeders, dude?
Yeah.
And
And
like, dude, I've seen some prices are going up to like 200 bucks. I don't know if that includes shipping or not, but I
no, it
was
doesn't.
seeing, oh, Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah.
Man.
It can be up to 200 bucks. And the thing is, I keep trying to tell people, like they hear the ad that it's like the cheapest way to get a chameleon. And you say, okay, 200 plus food, plus like when you try to ship in the winter and it dies, plus like whatever else, the waste that goes into getting it to 4 months old, 3 months old, four
Well,
months
well,
old.
let's
Like,
break that down a little more.
yeah,
So yes, okay. So let's just say we get the egg. Let's cut a little slack. $100 egg right there.
sure.
You guys all know. Do you all breed your own fruit flies? I'm sure you have to, or
Yeah,
else you
yeah. Oh,
guys wouldn't be
absolutely.
For the
doing
most
this.
part, yeah.
Yeah.
Except for I
So
got a culture from my best friend today. Don't judge me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So those cultures, on a weekly or probably, if you have one, I haven't done one hatchling chameleon ever, so I don't really know, but I'd say, you'd have to get a
Keeping,
new pot of fruit flies like every 2 weeks because you're going to run out by the time they actually reproduce. And on top of that, fruit flies alone are not a steady source of food because they don't have a lot of nutrients. So you're going to have to be mixing other things in. And the smaller quantities of food you get, the more expensive it is, unless for some reason, you buy in wholesale. But if you buy in wholesale, you're buying a lot of bugs and those are all going to grow up and be too big for your guy. Or you have a friend or a connect, whatever it is. But generally speaking, you're going to be spending a lot more than a chameleon breeder would be spending on feeders. So, let's add another to get to 3 months. That's if it grows at the proper rate. I mean,
yeah,
I know this person who did the whole egg thing. Um, she got an egg at a show. The egg didn't make it. She had to
mhm,
pay $75 in shipping to get another replacement egg because that's the guarantee hatch. You have to actually pay more to get an egg shipped, boggled around in FedEx, flipping over up and down over the conveyor belts, and they get to your door, and that one hatches. So we're already at 175 plus let's just say 150 for feeders plus, I think that the it hatched as a preemie, which makes sense. I mean, like when I would move to California and back. Sometimes, like I've been up and down a few times for college and whatnot. I've had to move all my chameleon eggs, and I'll tell you, I'll move them all, and within the first week of me moving them, they're all hatching because the movement woke them up, and some of them would hatch so small that they would just die off in 2 weeks because they were just too weak. So I
yep,
know I'm doing like two things at once here, but so then you also have to invest all that, invest money into a proper baby setup, which then you need to constantly upgrade throughout those few month periods, if it even is growing at a steady rate. I mean, this
yep,
person that I'm talking about, the chameleon was, 3 months old when I obtained it, and it was still about that big. And,
yeah. I was
unfortunately, it
talking.
passed away.
Yeah, and
Um,
I was talking to someone just yesterday as I was driving back with my family, and they had gotten an egg, and they showed me a picture of the animal that was 3 months old, and it looked like it was 2 weeks old,
yeah,
and that's last night, but that's last week, that's the week before that. It's like every time I get pictures of these animals, they look like they're not developing at the right rate, and it's a combination of factors. It could be related to the shipping. It could be related to the fact that they don't know how to raise them. And
Exactly. Definitely
it
that one,
could be
I
related.
think.
Yeah, like you get into like what the potential cause is. I honestly don't care because at the end of the day, the animal looks like it's 2 weeks when it's 3 months old, right? So,
I've
like,
when it
you
could
could
have lived.
you can look
It,
at the cause, but it doesn't really matter. The
And
result
if
is
that
what
was
it is.
hatched out with the breeder and raised up properly,
Yeah.
that animal would be the right size. It would have way more of a chance of surviving, and then it can go to a beautiful home and have a beautiful life with, a keeper.
Exactly.
Which most of these egg sales totally prevent.
Yeah.
They take away that ability for that animal to have life, or if it does, it might not have as good of a life because of those conditions that we're talking about. And like I said, I'm a sensitive person. If I had an egg for however long I had it for, hatched it, great, and then it died on me in 2 weeks, again, I would be beating myself up. What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
I'm the worst keeper in the world. Like,
Yeah.
and then I'd probably not even post about it because I'm too embarrassed that I killed an animal when it wasn't even my fault at all. It was just the
Yeah.
nature of the beast.
You shouldn't have been put in that situation, really.
Exactly.
And yeah. And a lot of those people drop out of the hobby. They're gone, right? They're not coming
And
back.
and that's a huge point. I remember I didn't get into chameleons until I was 17, 18 years old, and I'm 29 now. And the reason why I didn't is because that back then it was a lot more, there wasn't as much information as there is now. Like, it's really impressive to see how the hobby has grown and developed and has gotten to where it is. But chameleons overall, I've been a reptile guy since I was 5 years old, breeding, buying lizards and all that, but it was well known chameleons are impossible to take care of. They're hard, they die quickly, all that. Me being me, I didn't want to deal with that. But when I was in college in a psychology class, I met this awesome guy named Nick Gill, and he told me he was a chameleon breeder, and I was like, "What?" And yeah, I got my first chameleon and was then exposed to the proper way to keep all of these animals. Yeah, Ryan, take your shirt off.
Y'all wild.
I'll do it. No, I'm kidding. Only fangs, baby. Let's go. Yeah. So, man, dude, that was distracting. Come on, Eric Cucaracha plug. What are you doing? Distracting us.
Sorry, Ryan, to throw it up. It's funny.
Yeah. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah. So yeah, I don't know where I was going. Yeah, I never got into them until I was 18 because of that stigma, but then I was properly educated and I had a great experience with it, and now I do it for a living.
I want to say one thing about this is, like, as a breeder, one of our responsibilities is making sure that the animal is ready for a new home, right? You don't send them out until they're ready. You don't send them out just because they're 3 months old. You send them out
Exactly. I was about to just say that.
because they are ready for a new home, right? That is the standard that we hold ourselves to. And an egg is not ready, right? A hatchling is not ready. A 3-month-old is not ready. If they need to be eating the right size cricket, they need to be looking like they're thriving and ready to go. And if they aren't ready to go, you hold on to them. You work with them. You try to get them going. And that's what we do, right?
Yeah, and I can totally agree with that. I'll be honest, the last couple of Nosebe clutches, there's some chameleon clutches where, dude, they're freaking monster size. Not Ipardalis monster size at 3 months, but, they're eating like 3/4 inch large crickets at 3 months old, maybe 3.5. But, the last couple of clutches of Nosebes, I'd say, honestly, I was only really comfortable keeping them at, like, waiting till they're 5 months old, Took care of them the same. Maybe I should have kept them a little bit warmer. Maybe I should have fed them like 3 times a day instead of twice, or just sometimes things happen, like sometimes a breeder can't spend time to feed them 3 times a day. I remember like a couple years ago, like I think, or in 2020, dude, my Cap S, dude, they were monsters at 3 months. My Abanjas were pretty good size. My Nosebes were bigger, but, I was spending a lot more time feeding them. And, sometimes for some of us breeders, we can't do it on a certain system as another breeder, and that's okay as long as we're doing the best we can. But like the point is, like, you can't always just expect them to be 3 months old and then like think they're ready to go. That's not a good way. And Mitch was talking about like standards are going up, and back in the day before like I really started getting in the chameleon community, Bill Strand, you're in the comments, let me know. People would sell them like probably that big, dude.
Oh yeah.
And then when when all three of us like started to get to a little bit know each other in the breeding scene, whatever, like people would like say 3 months they have to be this big, you know. And like, John, honestly, you kind of set the standard in my eyes, at least in a way. Like, hey, if these chameleons aren't eating at least half-inch crickets, then like, what's the point, dude? Like, they're not ready to go. And you know, you kind of, no one really made that rule except for you. And like, maybe some people thought like, oh, John's just being an egotistical asshole. No, to me, in my eyes, I thought like, yeah, no, I thought like, fuck yeah, dude, like, hands on, dude. I really agree with that. Like, times have changed. But the point of all this is, since like our standards went up like 3 or something, whatever years ago for the size of the chameleon, what they're eating when they're ready to go, then why are we selling chameleon eggs? We are going like 8 years back, taking 10 steps back with this crap, dude. You know, like, and okay, let's get a little bit out of chameleons for a second.
Yeah.
What would happen if we sold a day-old bearded dragon to someone?
I breed bearded dragons. I breed bearded dragons. They are not ready to go until at least 3 weeks to a month, which is fantastic compared to a chameleon. But as everybody knows, they are not as fragile as a chameleon, you know. And that's even kind of young, you know. I would only be selling those to experienced people or to like a shop that's wanting to grow them out. But they're hardy creatures. Like, I stopped worrying as much about them after like 2 weeks. I worry about my baby panther chameleons every day for 3 to 4 months, you know, just because they need to be checked on. Like, if there's, you know, one that's having a hard time shedding, or let's just say you have a group of chameleons
around their ankle.
Yeah, or you have a group of chameleons and a few are eating a lot more than the other ones, then you got to separate them. If you keep a big one with a small one, the small one's going to be terrified and start going downhill because it's going to be scared. You know, the whole dominance thing in a cage, that's a thing. And it won't get as much food because a bigger chameleon that has more energy to hunt is going to be eating all the food before the smaller one is.
You know what?
Keep going.
I just wanted to chime in, you know, like, I will actually testify to what Mitch is saying. So I have a few Nosebe Panther Chameleon males around like 5-6 months old right now, right? And I'm bringing them to a reptile expo I'm vending at in like a couple of weeks or something, right? Like, yeah. And I actually have one Panther Nosebe Chameleon. He's only a little bit bigger than half the size, dude, and I'm doing everything I can. He just doesn't eat as much. It's a little bit stressful for me, and I'm just like, dang, I'm doing something wrong. And, you know, maybe I am. I'll admit to that. These things happens with breeders. And right now, I don't really feel comfortable selling him to that size. And, you know, I'm going to be honest, I will probably have to discount him. Because in my eyes, for how old he is, he's kind of a runt, dude. He's a kind of a runt. Runts
it could
happen,
just be
dude.
genetics. It could just
be
be
genetics. Maybe it's time for me to just add some wild-caught Nosebes because I work with True Blue. And if anyone really knows chameleon, True Blue is a line-bred trait.
Yeah.
Just make sure they're coming directly from Nosy Bay, because I don't know if you knew this, but there are islands just like in Nosy Mitsio, like there's Nosy Anchoria and a few islands around that. There's islands right next to Nosy Bay that have almost identical blue chameleons. And I bet you money that over the last 10, 15, 20 years, those have come in as Nosy Bay just because they're blue. So just make sure they come right from Nosy Bay. Because I know there was actually a blue chameleon that looked like a Nosy Bay that was posted on a wild-caught importer's site that was found on the mainland. And there was a whole explanation that the collectors could run into issues while they're carrying chameleons, such as, bad things that can happen on Madagascar, like corruption, the police, the government, whatever, and they have to leave these chameleons where they are. So, just make sure that when you are getting a wild caught, Ryan, that you really know the source of it.
This is not about a wild caught episode, but we're not going to dive too deep into it, but I'm going to just say this. I don't fucks with wild caught. I am too much of a wimp, guys. I'll buy an F1 from someone else. Just saying real quick.
Yeah. I mean, Robbie Anderson has a nice wild caught Nosy Bay that he's been working with right now.
Dude, I have F1s.
Yeah.
I have.
You too?
Cool. Yeah, I do too. Or the thing, okay, we're gonna go off topic here because I also wanted to talk about,
Let's stay off the wild card. This is not that episode.
For the next time, I wanted to talk about. So if you put a wild caught male okay, let's do it another time.
Yeah, you're getting off topic, player.
Yeah, okay,
all right. Switch it up real quick. Let's go into something. Okay, guys. I'm just gonna say this. Another reason why I hate breeding chameleons nowadays. I'm gonna just be honest.
So much hate.
I can't. It's so much work, right? And I give a shout out to John and Mitch over here because they still breed full time with Panther Chameleons, and I can only do about 1 or 2 clutches a year, right? And the reason is because out of everything, I hate the customer service. That drives me bonkers, dude. Like, let's just say, for instance, even at a 3, 4, 5 month old, I'll have some customers, first timers, they'll buy a chameleon and they'll be like, dude, my chameleon hasn't eaten for like 4 or 5 days. I think it's ready for an emergency vet. And a lot of us know, like, hey, when you first get an animal, sometimes it takes a few days for them to eat because they're stressed out, right? And like, dude, I got so much of that with my last clutch and it was driving me nuts. And now this is just for a 3 to 5 month old chameleon. Imagine if you were selling eggs, what you would have to do with the customer service on selling or raising a baby. I can't even imagine the customer service then.
We know what they do. They ignore them, and then they come to us.
Right, dude? That's what I'm saying, bro. That shit drives me nuts.
I can't tell you how many people I talk to every week who have a hatchling, right? And I don't sell the eggs.
Right, dude? Honestly,
it has to be a lot because when I'm vending shows, I see so many people walking around with these eggs, and coming to me and telling me how excited they are, and then I'm like, good for you, all that stuff, and hatchlings. Literally, there were hatchlings being sold at the last show that I vended, and I couldn't even imagine how many questions those people have. Because there's not really. I mean, there are crash courses thanks to people like Bill and other people online about hatchlings, but there's still so many questions. So many things. Everyone has a different environment. Everyone has different temperatures in their house. There's so many specific. The thing with a hatchling is you need to be extremely specific. If you're not meeting those specific standards, then there are going to be some issues. But I also I wanted to get back to the whole sexing chameleon eggs because I always thought that the sale of eggs were an unethical practice because these eggs are laid in the ground in Madagascar. They're not ever moved unless there's an earthquake. So to me, I could not really comprehend how that is in any way, shape, or form an ethical practice to be moving these eggs. Let's forget about shipping, but just moving them, for hours at a time to shows or whatnot, and the temperatures changing, the elevation changing. I can't even tell you how scared I was to drive over the grapevine in California with my eggs. So I've heard of horror stories of like eggs popping when they get to the top elevation and all that. But like all of these things, these other factors that can get into it. Man, I don't know why. I took a nap before this, and my brain just keeps on. I'm having, as Ryan calls, brain farts. But
hey, if you need to take over, I got a good point. So you mentioned shipping chameleon eggs for a moment, and I see my best friend right now in the chat. I'm not even going to read your comment, but just to make you feel special, I'll pull it up. Thank you, Sean. So Mitch right here was talking about shipping a chameleon egg, right? And Sean, you're going to really hate me for this. Yeah, you, Sean, in the chats. He just gave me this nice, sweet bonsai seed that just started germinating.
That's a seed, though.
But, let me get to it. Remember how I was showing that little sprout? We're going to use this as an example as what happens during shipping. All right, you ready, Sean? You ready? Oh my God, that seed that you just spent time germinating for me. Oh, wait, the stem's on it. Oh man,
that's
no,
so
going up and
brutal.
down
Not the
freaking
plants.
rail thing, going
Not the
into the
trees.
plains. It's so cold up here. It's so warm here. Oh wait, we're in Texas now. It's definitely cooking.
Wait.
Whoa, whoa,
You
watch
gotta do
this.
the
Guy
flips.
flips
Yeah.
it. Guy flips it. The handler guy flips it around in shipping, going up. Oh, here's your shipment. It's upside down, dude. Oh, what is it? Okay. Can you see live? Now let's see what happens to that seed.
That was brutal.
And
It's
guess
all
what
squished.
happened?
It's all squished.
Guess what happened, Sean? Hold on, let me pull it up full screen to mine. Just cause I'm that kind of guy, dude. Look at that. See? Where's that?
Oh my
Oh, wait,
god.
but look what's in between my fingers. Dun dun dun.
Dude, you just killed a perfectly good bonsai.
Oh my
seed.
god, that's what happens when you ship eggs. That can happen.
Oh,
And you know
man.
what? Since we're on the topic, someone sent Mitch here a little bit ago of what happened with their chameleon egg that was shipped, right? And
So before, I just want to say, so we were kind of talking about the prices that go on. So this person got an egg at the show. It didn't hatch. Sean, that's funny. Poor freaking tree, man. I have a green thumb. I can't believe you just did that, but that was very good to prove a point.
I'm sorry, Sean. I love you.
And then they got an egg in shipping, and the second one didn't make it. And and that's after they paid $75 more to get another egg. That one didn't make it. The seller said, "Oh, well, we only send out one replacement." So the guarantee was just void. All of the advertising say guaranteed to hatch. That's BS because you only get two, and the chances and paying more, and the chances of them hatching is not, it's slim. Or I know people have had success stories, so they're and all that, but like we're talking about the general public, and they're not all good stories. And I know that a lot of these good stories, or the bad stories, get buried and shut down and all that stuff. Or the seller offers.
No one brags about them, that's for sure.
Exactly. I mean, I sure wouldn't. I think I screwed up. But anyway, so this person bought another chameleon egg. So now we're at, I don't know how much it was, $275 for just trying to just have one successful experience hatching an egg. And, the egg hatches, which is fantastic. Now, Ryan, this egg was shipped, by the way. Ryan, it's all you, baby boo.
Hey, drum roll, please. Mitch, give me a drum roll. There you go. Bam, right here. Right here, guys. Check this out. Spotlight that. Let me see. That's as zoomed in as I can get. Look at this chameleon right here. Look at this. How old was this chameleon right here when it hatched out of the egg?
So
the shipped one.
That was at a, I'm not sure exactly. I think that was at like a month old. Oh, sorry. No, I was told that chameleon hatched like that. So that might be of him a little, or her a little older. It was supposed to be a male, but I confirmed it was a female. That one, what has had eye problems like that since it hatched.
Yeah, if you guys,
I don't even know what's going on there.
It kind of looks like that goldfish, that blub 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 one with the big bubbly eyes. I'm sure everyone knows that type of goldfish with like the fancy fin tail. It kind of looks like that. But also, guys, over here though, Mitch sent me something even more demographic. So there's this same chameleon, right?
Yep.
And this is a video. Let's see what happens. Come on, go away. Just watch this little stupid chameleon.
Hey,
with
be
a
nice
big
to
bubbly.
it. It's special needs. Be very nice.
Sorry, bro. It's a shipped chameleon egg.
Yeah. So watch
Well,
how this
look
creature
at
is
this way
walking.
he's walking. Look at it. Look at that joint. Keep watching, guys. Man.
It's
Hey, bro.
it's
You walking with a
depressing.
stick in your butt? You walking like you
Probably.
got a stick in your butt, dude? Like, just keep watching, guys. It gets pretty fucking.
So I don't know if it has something to do with its motor functions in its brain, or if it's just the way it developed by too much movement during shipping. But yeah, this animal is struggling, and it lived 3 months. It didn't grow at all, and then it unfortunately died.
Yeah, and then how many eggs did they go through at this point again?
I think we're at egg number 3. Oh, and it was guaranteed. Dude, take your Facebook off.
I'm trying.
It was guaranteed a male, but it was 100% a female. So guaranteed 1,000% male, but it was a female.
That's cute,
So
bro. Guarantees.
Well,
I
so
I thought
I've had this guaranteed debate a lot, and there's a double meaning to it, which is if it's a female, you get a replacement that is a male. So it's not guaranteed to be male. It's guaranteed that you will get a male eventually. Um,
but
so
what if I hatch this out and fall in love with it if it does grow up and raise it up to like 9 months old and then realize
and then you
it's a
give it, and then you
female?
realize it's a female, and you give it back, yeah, and then you get a free
Ah,
breeder and you get a replacement male, yeah. It's
wow.
scummy.
Lucky seller.
Yeah.
Lucky seller. I would love to
I
get free female breeders. And not
Oh,
have
I
to
know.
put any of that money into growing them out or anything. I mean, that's my
I know.
biggest cost is taking care of my females, my ladies.
Yeah.
Huh.
But yeah,
And
Well, but
everyone knows that those
but
are harder to take care of.
a little.
yeah,
I would say the
but
females
I
are a
think
little harder.
I think that the thing is everybody reads it as it's going to be a male, right? They don't read it as they could get a male replacement. And I've had this debate with a couple of people, and they always are like, it is guaranteed to be a male because you'll get a male, right? And I'm like, no, no one knows, no one interprets it that way. It's not clear. If you, it's false advertising, in my opinion. So
Yeah,
if what
that
it
and the
is,
guaranteed hatch.
yeah,
Those are
and
two
yeah,
forms of
both of them,
false advertising.
yeah. So that to me is that I'm like, what are you doing? You say, oh, it's guaranteed to be a male, guaranteed male, different, right? They're not saying to be a male. But then
But
they do get into the debate about how they can predict that like the whole thing, like the whole clutch is males, right? And so that muddies the water. But then if you read the fine print, it's guaranteed replacement with the male on the fine print when you're actually making the purchase. But a lot of the other discussion is about like being so sophisticated that they can predict the gender, like predict the sex of
yeah,
the egg.
I've heard of this like really special technique that they can. I don't know exactly what it is that they can figure out exactly what the sex is, and it's called like the like Krabby Patty secret formula or something like
Yeah,
that. Have
yeah.
you ever heard of that?
Well, the
Um,
actual technique is called spectroscopy, but they don't
Can you
know.
and
break
that
that down? Can you break that
and,
down to
and that
a fifth
requires
grade
like
level, John? I'm too
that
stupid to
requires
understand that term.
doesn't that require like a really expensive
Spectroscopy.
piece of equipment?
Well, so spectroscopy is like you're using light to understand something that is microscopic, right?
Hmm.
So in it's a way that you could shine light into the egg, catch the result of that activity on a film, and then analyze the light to determine what's in the egg, because it would be a non-invasive way to figure out what the actual sex is. And there's techniques to do that with chickens. There's techniques to do that with animals that are raised at an industrial scale because they spent millions upon millions of dollars to develop that technique, right? So like I was like when I hear people say they can do this, I'm like, do you even know how it works? Like, and the answer is no, because they often will start talking about like this magic male, Panther Chameleon, which produces males, right? So I've heard that theory, but as soon as you pose that theory, I know you're not you don't know what you're talking about, because with panther chameleons, it's the female that determines the sex. It's the opposite of people, because they have genotypic determined sex, just like we do. It's not an environmental thing. It's not temperature. We know that it's based on their chromosomes, and the females have Z chromosome and a W chromosome. The males have 2 Z chromosomes. So the male, no matter what, just throws a Z chromosome into the mix. They can't determine the sex because the male just has Z. That's it. They can't create. They have no impact on the sex. It's like female people. Like mom doesn't determine the sex of the babies. It's dad, right? That's because the dad is XY and the mom is XX. But in panther chameleons, it's the opposite. The female is ZW and the male is ZZ. So it is the female that determines the sex. So as soon as you hear that someone has come up with some theory, what is it called? Krabby Patty?
Krabby Patty cakes or something. Oh, there we
Yeah.
go.
Krabby Patty
You know,
cakes.
Yeah, that. As soon as you hear them like trying to talk about how there's a male that produces males, they're showing you that they're ignorant, like they don't know what they're talking about.
So okay, so well, one, like, how would one even? Well, I guess. Okay, well, what if you had a female that is it possible to have a female that can produce more males than females?
No, because
Okay.
she would die if she could. And the reason is because her cells have Z chromosomes and W chromosomes. When she makes an egg, one gets a W, one gets a Z. One gets a heads, one gets a tails. She can't physically produce anything but a coin flip. So she can't produce anything that is different from 50-50 ratio. And that, like, even though she can have a clutch that is like 20 males and no females, that means she's actually more likely to produce females the next time because she's spent all the Z's, or sorry, she spent all her Z's and she's got W's left, right? So it's like when you're doing that basic probability game where you have like 20 red M&Ms and 20 blue M&Ms, and she spent all 20 blues, right? Like now all she's got left is reds, and so she's actually more likely to produce the opposite of what she did. And so that, again, I'm like, this is how it works from a scientific standpoint. And if she produced more of one, it means she's more likely to produce the other one the next time, not the same thing again.
So then, if someone who is selling eggs is basing their eggs based on the last litter, which could have been all males, and there's more of a chance that all the eggs that you're selling as guaranteed males are actually going to be females.
Yeah.
Oh. So that means
which is hilarious, but I mean it's why it's not ethical. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm like, the reason this isn't ethical is because they don't know what they're doing. Like, and you can't. It's false advertising at a very high level. So like, that's why I'm like, the gender is the highest level of false advertising when they start getting into the sex piece, because it's like, if you knew what you were talking about, first of all, you'd know it's impossible. Second, you would know that if you did do it, you'd have to figure out what you're going to do with all the female eggs that you don't send out, because you're going to be doing 50-50. So if you're like, even if you could figure out what the sex of the egg was and you sold all your males, you kept your female eggs, you would have half of them you'd have to keep. And they're not doing that. They're selling them all, right? Like, so, and I know that they're not figuring out, I know they're not using spectroscopy. So like, when you go through all the possible explanations, number one, you find out that they don't know what they're talking about because their theories don't make any sense. And number two, they're not actually holding back all their female eggs or something like that. So this is where it, to me, is just like, okay, guys, if you actually did have this down, then you wouldn't have said what you did say already. Like, you've disproven yourself, right? And I mean, you can look. I'd be happy to share some of the literature on how panther chameleons do have genotypic determined sex, and what their chromosomes are and things like that.
We should post links on the YouTube live.
Because it's known. It's not an open question right now.
You know, if I had a direct link, I would drop it in the chats. But real quick, guys, you see what I'm saying here right now about adding John as the third musketeer with his science, and like, dude, come on, man. Let's give it up for John real quick. That was amazing. I learned so much, guys. And you guys know my channel is really educational, you know? And like, dude, I love learning, man. And you gotta admit, everyone drop a comment in the chats. Let me know. Did you learn something new? Did you know about this? What was that term called again?
Spectroscopy?
Spectroscopy. You can't even pronounce it.
I can't. See, that's how smart John is, dude. And that is why I'm very excited to invite him to the chat today. And thank you again for that. Yeah. And do you have any more things you want to touch up on that?
I mean, that's the main thing that kind of gets me going is when I see this conversation, is that the sex piece, but the survival rate piece. So you get people with the positive story coming in and saying like, I can get 98% survival rate with the babies that I've hatched or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they say, oh, well, that means I can sell eggs now because they have 98% survival rate. And I say, no, that means you should keep it and get 98% survival because your eggs are absolutely not going to hit that rate. So the spread is what you know you're going to lose. You're whatever rate it is. If it's 50-50, if it's like Mitch was saying, where it's 3 in a row of no babies surviving, it's not 98. I'm sorry. It isn't. So when people have these positive stories of like 100% success or 98% success, what it means is they should be keeping their eggs. It means they should be hatching them and raising them because they're good at it. And nobody else is that good. So
no, it's taken me so many years to get to the place that I am today. Yeah. Period.
So, but when they make this argument, like it's easy, I can do it, they're arguing against themselves because they're proving that they should keep them and they should raise them themselves because no one else is going to be able to hit that rate and you're going to be killing some percentage.
And that's when it gets to become all about the money. Why put more money into raising them, more time? Why not just, make money off the eggs and, not care about the impact that it has on the human being, on the egg itself, on the hatchling itself, on the community, how it where we don't care about that that could potentially take a very possible, chameleon person to be joining the community to not want to have anything to do with it because they had a bad experience and they're heartbroken and they're traumatized.
Yeah, since we're bringing up trauma now, let me see. I wanted to pull something up. Lee Reddy, I don't know if you're still in the chats, but he sent me.
Yeah, he has a live that he's doing. So
yeah, no, he's on Lizard Brain Radio right now.
All right, well, he's gonna watch the replay because he's the homie, and this is some good content right here. But let me see. Let me pull up my screen share. So this is a post that someone sent him, or he screenshotted a while back. The first half is an update, but honestly, we're going to go back to the original right here. This person that bought a chameleon egg multiple times, kind of similar to the story that Mitch was talking about. I have lost so many panthers in the past couple of months, and I feel at a loss. I've gotten multiple eggs, and all babies would be fine, and then all of a sudden be dead on the floor. I've read so much information, I've talked to so many people with experience and took all the advice, but yet, I'm still finding babies dying. I keep my house heated due to the cold weather, but spray extra throughout the day. The babies only have UVB as a heat light would be too harsh on them. I feed them fruit flies, dust and calcium, pinhead crickets. I have 2 in this cage. One is alive and doing fine, while the other... I just found on the ground. I feel awful, and I feel like I'm doing something wrong, but I can't seem to fix my problem. I don't want my last baby to die. Did you guys hear that growl? I'm sorry, that is my milk frog going off. But the point is, dude, like, even if you do so much research and all that, dude, it doesn't mean the guarantee of a baby. And you could really, as I read that out loud, I could really feel the sense of like sadness in that, dude. That is a case of trauma right there, guys. And like, dude,
Yep.
even from these breeders, about last July or June, I made a video with hatching baby chameleons, and near the end, even though I have years of experience breeding them, I just decided to be honest with my viewers in that video. Is like, I lost a couple of babies during that clutch, and it still sucks, dude. Even when you get kind of used to it, even after years, it sucks. But like, as breeders, we understand these things happens from experience. We understand it happens. But imagine if you bought an egg for like 200, 150, I don't give a crap, and then you hatched it out. It lives for like 2 to 3 months, and you literally give it your all. I literally coach you. Let's say I coach you on FaceTime. Hey, do this and that, and it still dies on you. You're gonna blame yourself.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just gonna be a
and
natural
you just
instinct, and
lost
that
that money.
hurts, dude.
And
you
you lost
lost
that money because it hatched.
Yeah.
All the guarantee
Yeah,
is that
no
it hatches,
guarantee
even
after
though
that.
it's not a real guarantee.
Yeah. And I can tell you in my household, when I lose animals, I don't tell my wife anymore, right? I keep that to myself, and I just protect her from it, because as a breeder, it's depressing, right? You and so she'll hear about it later, and that is just something I do to protect her from the sad side of it, right? I'm trying to show her the good pictures. I'm showing her the hold back males. I'm showing her the best side of the process. But when a baby crashes, or there's one runt that I've been holding on to for 6 months and doing everything I can that doesn't make it, I don't say anything, right? I keep that to myself. But it sucks, right? And I wish I could have somebody to share in the trauma, but um, it 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 still is like, no, when we're putting in the work as breeders, we have to keep that stuff to ourselves. Like, we don't force that onto our customers. We take that upon ourselves to do a good job, and then protect them from the trauma. We hold the trauma. So,
Yeah.
like, that's one of the things that, like, I think is important to understand, is that when you're selling eggs, you're sharing it. Like, say, here, you get to deal with this, and
Yeah,
that's yeah.
that just makes me really think about, you reminded me, there was like a year and a half where I had to take a step back from the egg process and the baby process, and Darcy actually took that over, because I was, up to here with it was PTSD. I was traumatized, and I could not do I could not do the babies and the eggs anymore, because I just couldn't handle it. Because there was a period of time, like when we moved, that we were still figuring out how everything, the changes were, and how everything worked here. And there were so many projects that I was just so invested into. Let's ignore the money, but just like excited about, having those dreams, like having the pairing come together and creating this really awesome thing. And then like the eggs are like going for 8 months, and then all of a sudden they all start dying. It's like, there's nothing you could do about it. And it's traumatizing, because it's like, I get so excited, so mentally invested, so everything, and then like it just shatters right in front of me. And when that happens a few times, it's I couldn't take it anymore. And thankfully, Darcy was able to step in and take care of the eggs for me and the babies while I ran all the rest of the business. And give me a chance to kind of like decompress, and I actually like talk to therapists about it and all this stuff. Now I'm in a place where I'm doing it all again. And that's one thing I wanted to say. Like when I was in that that situation where like I had a clutch and for some reason it started going downhill or whatever. You know, there's this one time where I went out of town and I put a fruit fly culture in the group of babies, and I don't know what was wrong with that, but there had to have been something in that culture, and it infected this group of babies. Probably like a bacterial thing, you know, and at that age, like you can't be giving flagyl to hatchling chameleons, you know.
Yeah.
And they just started going downhill, and I couldn't do anything about it. And it's like every time one died, I'm like, God, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? And sometimes I would overthink it, do way too many things, and
Yeah.
me doing
Make it
too
worse.
much and overthinking it makes it worse. Exactly. And it's like
Analysis
sometimes
paralysis.
exactly. And sometimes
Yeah.
it's just like leaving it be. But then I'm like, well, if I leave it be, then maybe I'm not doing everything I can to solve this situation, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, you know,
But the most traumatic thing in many cases is like something's wrong and you can't do anything about it
yeah,
because the baby's too small to take meds and or and it
Exactly.
and so you're like, well, you're just gonna have to ride it out. And the and that is like the definition of trauma in my mind, because
yeah,
you could know what is wrong with it, know you can't fix it, and that's the thing with babies, they're just too small to take meds. And the other thing I wanted to say, and I mentioned it in one of the discussions as well, is that like you hear a lot of people doing things like crimping their adult's tail in a door or other things just by mistake, right?
Guilty. I've done it.
When you crimp a baby's head in a door, it's done. Like it's over.
Guilty. Done it
So
twice.
yeah,
Just being
and
honest. It's
I know.
embarrassing, but I'm
I
agreeing with you. I'm guilty of it. It
and I'm
happens,
not
guys.
saying and yeah, and I'm just saying I'm saying that because people don't realize when we say they're fragile, what that means. What does that mean? You hear that story of an adult getting injured. That story with a baby is way more traumatizing. Like it's not as it doesn't end well, right?
no,
Like
you
those.
know, I agree. I've been doing this for a long time, so you kind of have to like learn how to deal with situations like that and not like take it to the soul. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like flashing back like to like you know years ago, and yeah, if I were to make a mistake like that, that is all on me. That is all my fault. And just like I was
Yeah.
talking about beating myself up, you know, I'd be depressed for days on end, and then you have to see the animal every day, and you just keep getting reminded, like, oh, I should have been paying more attention. Oh, why did I do that? Yeah, I mean, it that you know, since we're talking about trauma, I forgot, but that is also extremely traumatizing.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it definitely is, and people don't understand the risk. Is really what I'm trying to get at. It's like they they think it's the same as an adult, and it's not.
Not at all. Not at all.
So
Yeah, it definitely isn't, dude. And even with adults, people go through trauma with it too. Like, let me ask you guys this: even in your guys' early days of keeping chameleons, I'm sure you guys didn't get like a hatchling right off the bat. You got like maybe a 3, 5 month old. It was traumatizing. Probably when you guys probably had some accident and maybe it died. And my very first chameleon that I ever owned, it was when I was 20, about like 12 years ago. I didn't know a damn thing on how to care for these things. I didn't have a UVB. I did have a heat lamp. I didn't even have a screen cage. You know how I kept him? So I had I lived in this old school house that was A-framed, right? The ceiling was like this.
yeah,
And I was just such a little cool hipster then. I just made like a little net, had a bunch of fake plants and branches in there. And I just had him in there, just hanging out in the corner. And he was a very nice build. And then like a few months later, he just dropped dead one day. And I know why now he did, but then it was traumatizing to me. And like, I think it took me probably another like 7 to 8 years to back into a chameleon when I finally got out of my drug, sex, and techno stage. When I got a little bit older and got an actually decent job, and I'm like, hey, I kind of want to get personal real quick.
yeah,
So I didn't get back into chameleons. In case you guys didn't know, I did college, graduated. My main degree that I got, or the trade I graduated was I graduated as a master Toyota technician, right? Certified. Seriously, after a couple of years, dude, I was making bank, for a college student. My first year out of college made 60K, right? And then one day I got in a really traumatizing accident. And after that accident, I just kind of quit working for Toyota. I threw my career away and then I got back into chameleons. And that chameleon was kind of like my lifesaver then, getting back into them. And it's kind of weird, yeah. Even though like I got traumatized from chameleons, but like, can we just admit like chameleons are kind of like therapeutic? Keeping reptiles real quick, totally is.
Yeah, keeping animals is my therapy. I wouldn't be alive if it weren't for them. I mean, who I might be, but this is what gives me meaning to life. It's working with animals every day. You know.
Yeah, sorry guys. I know I got really way off topic from the actual podcast. I don't know. I just kind of wanted to share that story with people because it kind of sometimes it feels good just to open up.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. That was good. I'm glad that you opened up, man. These things could be therapy as well. But no. There's something really beautiful about. I remember when I was in college and I got my first chameleon. I named him Bear. I was so excited every day to come home and check on him and feed him and enjoy him. And it's something really special about that. Even thanks, Tyler. Even when the days are rough, especially in college, and I don't have life figured out, having that chameleon to come home to and to spend time with was absolutely beautiful. So, anyways, have we covered all the topics that we wanted to talk about in terms of, the eggs and the ethics behind it? I think we did a good job covering most of it. Did we? I think we didn't make the full picture as to why it's not. Why it is actually more expensive than buying a 3-month-old Panther.
Yeah, let's hop into that. Good point. There is a few other things we haven't touched on, but like, dude, even if I wrote down a bullet point like script, come on, dude, it's 3 heads. We're gonna go with the flow. But yeah,
and then I gotta go in about 15 to 20 minutes. Just letting you know.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I think we covered most things for now. Yeah, let's say for starting out a chameleon egg, people are gonna buy the smallest cage at first, right? Let's say like a 16 by 16 by 20 Reptabreeze. Throughout time, they're gonna upgrade again.
And that's not even the proper setup for a hatchling.
Oh yeah,
you need to be keeping them in something smaller, or you got to be keeping them in tubs to hold the humidity in. Right, John?
Yeah.
Jonathan?
Yeah, I tend to try to keep them in a higher humidity type environment when they're growing.
Yeah, and then even again, dude, people are gonna upgrade from that mid-sized cage to another cage. And I've done it before. I did that with a couple of Panther chameleons, and I feel like in today's standards, by the time, if they do it right, today's standards chameleon should actually be like to the full size where they don't need to be in a medium Reptabreeze. They should be in a XL, a large. I think so. If they're eating half-inch crickets to an inch cricket, they deserve to be in the max size cage by then.
Yeah.
I honestly, I disagree with that because, for me, it's really about size. I like to sell a chameleon that's pretty big and girthy. And I think at that stage, I think an extra large would be a little too overwhelming for the animal. And the reason why we don't put them directly into an extra large cage is because it's harder for them to hunt the crickets. Or, you need to put more in. I mean, at least that's my experience. I do like to, if it's a little bigger, I do like, to help the customer cut costs and be like, okay, if you get just a slightly bigger one, you can put them right into an extra large. Then you don't need to spend all that money continually upgrading cages. Right? Because too big of is that still a thing? Too big of a cage is not good for.
Not really. Not in my experience.
No. Okay, so I can kind of relate to that, but it always depends. There's too many variables. This is what I always tell my new customers. If you are worried about them not finding their food, then make a make a feeding station that's a little bit lower than the basking site, they will find their food. They are going to go towards the heat, and if they can see it below them, then they will eat it. So
Okay.
that's my for the first timer. I always give that advice. So I
Yeah,
mean, it
but
just depends on variables.
if you're free range feeding, then maybe it's different, right? It'd be harder to find them when they scatter and they spread out. But I think with a feeding cup placed in the right spot, they should be fine in a bigger cage.
Okay,
But
yeah, I haven't really been one for feeding stations actually for a long time. I'm just really starting to get into it, and the reason being is, I hate how those feeding cups would get wet, and then the animals, the crickets and feeders would die in it, and then it just creates more of an issue.
got one over my shoulder. That's
Oh,
the
you
full
do,
throttle.
yeah.
Yeah,
Full
full
throttle.
throttle.
Yeah.
Full throttle.
See, I just ordered some more on Amazon from Sticky Tongue USA.
Oh,
And I
nice.
really like them. They're like the rectangular ones, and they're really cool. They work, and I could spray them with water, and the bugs don't die. So back then, it would be a problem, but now they're really making some really nice feeders that work really
Yeah.
well. So I'm going to
there's
start
a
implementing that into everything.
Yeah, because most of the good ones they drain well, and that's not an issue. But if you try to do your own, then you got to make sure it drains too. But yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah,
Mine didn't drain that well.
I know no one asked me, but I hate feeding stations. I like free roaming. Just me. But I kind of wanted to add a good question I think we could all throw in on. So what do you guys personally think about the future with like chameleon egg selling? And like what do
That's
you
a very
think?
good question.
That is a
Very
good
good
question
question,
because like
because
real quick, I think it's going to be here to stay, but there's going to be a lot of variables that kind of affect how we go about it. And just my quick quote on it: monkey see, monkey do.
yeah.
I think it's here to stay, but it was always here.
Yeah,
So
but just never
I
mainstream like this. It was never
yeah,
it was
true.
never
But
mainstream. It was never
fair.
sold at shows,
No, I agree. It shouldn't be at shows. Like shows, that's kind of on them. But it kind of reminds me as far as how it affects the market and the hobby, like backwater reptile, CB reptile, like you name it, they're going to be around. But
Mm-hmm.
like people know what they're getting into now. For the most part, it's pretty clear. Like, hey, if you get a hatchling from CB reptile, it's probably not going to live. And I think that is what people are going to realize after they have this experience repeatedly, or as there's enough knowledge of people, because as it goes mainstream, the more people have the experience we're talking about, and
but that's
the
the
more
thing with
that
the
is
shows.
known, right?
That's the thing with the shows, though. People aren't walking into the shows with this database of, oh, okay,
Yeah. No, I know that's
it's more of an impulse buy, and
for sure.
those are the
Facts.
exact people that are not ready for a hatchling chameleon.
Yeah, but
So,
they're also the only people who buy off a CB reptile, right? So like, I I'm serious though. It's like the internet impulse buy versus the show impulse buy, and it's tough to protect those people because they don't know what they're doing, right? They and so like I've talked about this before. It's like this business it thrives on noob sniping. You're sniping the person who doesn't know what they're doing, and yeah, you're like, oh yeah, go get them. But that's why it's hard to get rid of it, because they by definition don't know, right? And so as that's why it's going to persist, in my opinion, is
yeah.
because it's so hard to get ahead of it. But I think long term, what it's going to do to anyone who does this is they're going to be selling their Judes. They're going to be selling their Xandrins, their Papafis, their, like I run down the list of the animals that I've kept that I'm like, damn, that's awesome. That's an amazing animal. They don't get to keep it. Somebody else breeds it and they're done. Like they're one generation and out. They're not going to be able to persist. And
You're talking about in the sense of like having the best
competition.
creation of yours and then staying at the top, because
Yeah,
yeah,
because you're one gen and you're out. because you sold your eggs. And so, because I know as a breeder, the reason I hold my stuff and I grow it so well is because I don't want to stop. I want to keep breeding, right? And I know that if the best ones are out there and 2 of them get bred, I'm not going to sell anything. So, like, if you sell your eggs, you don't see what's in your animals, you're done. Like, you can go and grab some random combination, throw them together, and try to sell those eggs, but you're going to just sit at the commodity market, like competing with CB Reptile. Like, all you do is volume, and no one cares. Like, it's not good stuff. Like, no one wants it. So, like, I think the what it does to a specific breeder from a competition and market health standpoint is they're selling off their business. Like, they're not keeping the quality that they produce, and they're done. Like, they can make as many eggs as they can and get them out the door as fast as they can, but after that they can't breed anymore. I mean, they can try to go and like buy a really nice male and like do that, but they can't continue their line there. And so, like, for at least from my perspective, the way that I breed, like, part of the reason I feel like I've been able to get to 6 generations is because each generation I continue to keep the best. And it's clear that that's what I have. And so,
Says it
as a
with
breed,
confidence, not
well, no,
ego. I like that. You say it with confidence, not ego. I
it's a
respect that.
fact.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Right there, see? So
Dude,
I wanted to point.
It's not an ego thing.
No, okay, I'm sorry. I had to point that out. How the way you said it, I really liked it because, like, I travel a lot throughout the country. I meet so many breeders, especially snake breeders, dude. Ego
Yeah.
this, ego that, and they claim to be the best this you'll ever see. But I don't know, just the way you say it, when I imagine them saying it, it's just you say it with like confidence and like, all right, since I actually know you, you have that very scientific term and notice from your actual work. It's not ego, it's facts. It's just kind of like I can kind of relate my Cap S. Who are you going to
Yeah.
find in USA? Who are you going to find better Cap S Panther Chameleons from right now?
You can't.
You can't from anyone. The captive bred that's done it at least 2 or 3 generations now. But and I don't even care about pursuing for ego for that. But I'm just trying to relate though. But keep going.
Yeah, but you know what I mean though. It's like the only way that's possible is if you
is
know
by
if
picking the
you
best of the clutch, is by growing them out to a certain size where you could study them, see the differences between the whole clutch, and which this is selective breeding, selectively picking the best looking males and females and putting them together. And yes, it was confidence because I could relate to that. We dedicate so much time, love, energy, money to this, and it feels good to know you're 5 generations in and you have been picking the best of the best of the best of the best. And sometimes I'll sell like a ugly duckling and it ends up sometimes being a little better, but that person doesn't have the lineup of females from all the other bloodlines that I have, that I've been working on for generation to generation and generation. So, and it feels good. It's like, yeah, it might sound a little egotistical to other people, but I mean, when you put in as much as we put in, I'm proud of what I've made. I'm proud. For me, it's an art form.
Damn right, you should be, dude.
Well, there's also a difference between some of the others and yellow bodies, because ugly ducklings are always ugly. Like, they never turn yellow after that. Like, ugly ducklings for some of the other locales and other color schemes can turn out okay, but for a yellow body, if you want a clean yellow, the ugly ones stay ugly. They don't get better. Like, it's so that's I like when I hear that story, I'm like, well, that's because you don't do yellow bodies.
That's true.
And there's one thing that I do respect about your yellow body blue bar line. I'm gonna just admit it out loud. Like, I remember like when we all like started like talking to that like stupid culture club group chat. Like, remember how like I kind of roast you a little bit? Oh, you work with yellow body blue bar. Wait, your chameleon turns yellow. You should get that checked out, bro. But like, it's I can kind of relate for me picking on you about that because you stuck with what you believed in. You stuck with what you believed in, and now you. And I'm sure a lot of people crown you. He did. He was
able through that work to to help other people understand how other colors work on a genetic level, with you seeing some reds in a few of your projects, and you're able to kind of teach people about the phenotypes, and it's always a possibility. Just because you have 2 yellow body blue bar breeders doesn't mean that you're going to produce pure yellow body blue bars. And then again, they change over time. Like I was the clutch I put my Arthas Junior cross. No, I put my Sweet Pea Junior male, incredible Panther Chameleon, to your Zanaka and Jude pairing. Freaking yellow, turquoise blue bars, nice speckle red rain down the side. And I'm like, dude, this is my yellow body blue bar breeder. It's gonna be amazing. Now he's a rainbow. So, it pulled the other side, the dad's side in. But it's still one of the best chameleons I have. And guys, I cannot wait. I'm gonna actually get on top of really documenting all the breeders we have for this season, updating the website, and I'm excited to show everyone, where I'm at with breeding, because I'm pretty proud of all of my productions and all of our breeders this year. It's awesome.
And you should be.
Yeah,
you totally should be.
Flexing. No, I'm kidding.
That's great.
Yeah. So,
all right. Is there anything else we should think about real quick to talk about the chameleon egg thing? I feel like there might be one more good question to answer.
Man, it is so gloomy outside today. It was supposed to be 80 degrees and sunny.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, real quick, if anyone has questions, if anyone has questions about the chameleon eggs that they would like answered, this would probably be the good time to ask it. Otherwise, we will most likely be shutting this down here real soon.
Yeah, that's another thing. I saw, sorry, really quickly. I saw a lot of people in the chats, say, oh man, I got an egg. I got it shipped to me. I got this and that. Yeah, yes, we're talking about the whole egg kind of industry as a whole, but this is also a good reminder that, it's just not rainbows and butterflies. Do your research. Talk to other breeders. I know John will help you out. And
stop it, dude.
And
if you didn't buy it from me, I won't help you out.
And get
I'm an asshole.
Get yourself set up for success. Don't go into it knowing it's going to be easy, because it's not. And just
Bill, I was actually thinking about this question earlier. Sorry that I interrupt. Okay, so since we're on the topic here, thank you, Bill. How about talking to people who already have an egg? So regardless, the chameleon egg selling is gonna be here to stay, right, guys? So if that happens, then how can we help people out? What are some recommendations we can give right now during the stream to give out? I guess I'm gonna start first. I'll take our turns.
John's been trying to talk for 5 minutes.
Have you?
Now.
Nah, it's all good. I have thought of a couple different things to say, but
we can keep. Okay, I'm sorry. We're on this top. We'll go on to the other topics. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was. Yeah.
So I was thinking. So guys, when you buy an egg, dude, every breeder does this, and this isn't really news, but start getting your fruit fly cultures, like your bean beetles ready.
Yeah,
I would say that's definitely one tip right off the bat. And another thing, a lot of these guys that sell you the egg won't tell you this, but with the UVB light, the T5 that they always say get, those things are damn harsh on babies' eyes. And I've noticed this with babies. If you keep that UVB light right on top of the cage or whatever, too close to the babies, it'll be so harsh that they'll start keeping their eyes closed throughout the day. And what happens when you keep your eyes closed? You ain't going to be hunting, dude. You ain't going to be hunting your food. So raise up your UVB. I don't have a magic distance because there's too many variables, but maybe like a foot, 18 inches above where the babies are basking. Keep your UVB higher and get your bugs ready to go.
It's a little high. Yeah.
You're going to want it more at like six inches.
You want it 6 inches, but also I've learned that I raise all my adults on 10.0 UVB. I think that the more UVB they're getting, the better for the animal, as long as they have the ability to get away from it and get a break from it. But I noticed that the T5 or sorry, yeah, the T5 5.0 is a lot brighter than the 10.0. So if we're talking about brightness, you can use the 10.0, but just make sure that you know have give the chameleon knows when it's getting too much UVB. Make sure that it can just go away from that, because I haven't had problems in a long time with like too bright lights or anything like that, and I just
Yeah.
switched over to 10.0 for all my babies.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that Bill has been doing a series of of topics related to like how to take care of babies. I've spoken on a couple of them. A number of other people have talked about um, how they raise babies in order to help people out who have an egg. Um, because to me, it's like even though it's clear where we stand on this, once you've got it, once it's done, it's done. Now we do want to help you succeed, right? So that is at least the way I see it. And the same goes. I've talked to some breeders who are like, I sold eggs once. Please don't hate me. And and sometimes because of the public debate that goes on, they're worried that there's like some personal vendetta that's going to go on, or like they're going to get
Shamed,
shamed,
blasted,
like
yeah.
yeah, like whatever it is. I don't care. Like it that part of it isn't important at all to me, as long as people understand the ethical position that is the consensus. Then you choose how you want to behave, right? I don't care. That's not to me. Like that's not my business. But what I do hope people understand is that this is the consensus, and it's not like just a few people who think one thing or another. It is the vast majority of people. And they're really the only people I've heard that get on the other side of this are people doing it. Are the people selling it. That's it. Most
Or the people that have just bought it.
Yeah, who just bought it are still excited, like
Yeah.
but they're not to the trauma stage yet, right? So there's that window where they're super excited and they'll jump onto posts, but like the that's it. Like aside from that, there's a consensus that follows what we're saying here.
Yeah, I know that the sales of eggs, or that whole thing, it's banned from a lot of Facebook groups, like in terms of like supporting it. It's not supported in a lot of Facebook groups. And I know, and this kind of goes back to like how do we deal with it in the future. I know that a lot of show promoters these days, they do not allow egg sales at their show. And
Yep.
I think that's huge, because I think that's where most people get noob sniped, is at these shows. And I think so we could help you know help prevent more trauma, or prevent more loss of babies and eggs, is to not allow that type of um, opportunity to be taken. And it's sometimes hard to just like being a chameleon person, it's sometimes hard to explain to a show promoter without sounding like it's a competition thing or something like that. So I think like
How stupid is that argument though? Like it It, who is someone going to make that same argument for a day old bearded dragon? Are they going to make that same argument for like any
okay,
of
but then
like
then this is what they say, but they have a guarantee. So what's wrong with that? It's like,
Good point.
I've literally had this conversation, and it's like, but it's not ethical.
yeah,
Like, yeah, they have a guarantee, but it's not ethical. It's like,
it's like they
yeah,
know it's going to die. That's why they have the guarantee.
yeah. I mean, man, I still have a 30-day guarantee on all my chameleons.
Yeah,
But
but
that's just because I want to take care of my customers and things happen. But in order to get that guarantee, you have to prove that you have the proper husbandry and setup.
terms of service right here.
Yeah. It's funny.
But yeah, no, I guess um, that's the other part of the debate that I get into sometimes is like some people try to make it seem like this is a open debate, and I I think yeah, it is kind of, but it's not. It's not like it's an even thing because anybody who I've talked to who knows what they're doing has been like, yeah, I'm not okay with it. The only people who are okay with it are the people doing it, are the people who got an egg, and that I hope people know, um, like that's what the situation is, right? So
Or people that just care about money and not the animal's well-being.
yeah, who are like, wow, that'd be great to do that at a show, right? They're thinking along those lines, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It lines up with all the other things as to why we do what we do, though, in my opinion. Like, why do we raise them to the right age? Why do we make sure they're healthy before they go to a new home? Like, they if you are concerned with those things as a breeder and as a business, egg sales are not going to be something you want to do. That's
Yeah, I mean, right now I could sell over 600 eggs and a shit
sure.
ton of hatchlings. I mean, you can too. I'm sure Ryan can
Yeah.
too.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's just not right. It's
Yeah.
not.
So
I can't
so
put that on my conscience.
if it was a competition thing, I can compete. Like what's I don't care. Like that. Like what?
Yeah.
Like
We could
that's
all
It's just
start
not
paying
the
our
way to be.
mortgages real easy with just chameleon eggs, you know?
yeah.
Oh
I
god.
that's the thing when I hear that I'm just like, what are you like? What's wrong with you people? Like no,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Definitely not. You know, dude, so it's kind of funny. I had someone that I met at an expo recently, and they're talking about, hey, I got to connect now. I can buy 200 eggs at $10 a pop. Like, what do you think I should do? You're the chameleon vendor here, you know, and you have the nicest chameleons at this show, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, dude, please don't. You know, I just kind of explained to him the ethics and all this. Like, and like I was talking to him face to face too, like in the after party hotel when he kind of brought it up. And he was like, "Yeah, dude, I'll just buy them, flip them to the pet shop, and all this." And he just kept going on this like thing talking about money making. And I'm just like, I forget what he said next, but then there was a point like it came up to is like, "Bro, you've never raised chameleons before, have you, dude? I can tell just by listening to the way you talk." And don't get me wrong, he was a nice guy. He owns his little own
Yeah.
business, and you know he's thinking of his business point, and that's what all these chameleon egg sellers are only doing. Thinking of a chameleon,
Yeah.
Money, money,
just a
money.
business, a money
At the
thing.
expense of humans' trauma and the baby's
Chameleon
well-being.
lives.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
and I think I feel like I did convince them to get out of it, dude. But you know, part of the reason why I brought that up is like I think kind of going back to what the future of chameleon selling eggs is. I think we can expect to start seeing them at pet shops, specialty exotic reptile shops. I got a strong feeling we
Well,
will
you won't
probably start
see
seeing that.
me at those pet shops.
Yeah.
If a
I
pet
would
shop's
I
going
would
to do that,
say
I'm not going to support them.
it could be the box shops, but I don't think the exotic shops want to risk their business on it
Yeah.
because they're brick and mortar. They can't go anywhere. You know, if they lose the if
They
if they're
can't run. They
yeah,
can't take
no,
the money and run and not
serious.
respond to emails.
Their local customers are who they need to keep, and if they start pissing people off with it, it's too much of a risk for them. So like they're actually more risk averse, depending on who like how they run their shop, right? Like if they're doing a bunch of other unethical things, then this might sound cool to them, but um, if they're actually doing a good job, they're gonna say that's not worth my reputation. I'm not in. I think maybe like a box shop, maybe some of the guys that are already doing other things that are shady, then they'll be less concerned about this. But I don't think that um, at least a serious business owner is going to consider it.
Mhm. Yeah, I
If they
agree.
really care, because I mean, there's always going to be.
Well, you got to
shadiness.
care if you're paying that much rent and
Yeah,
you're running
when
a
you got
shop
rent
like that. If you want to do
and
it right,
employees, you
yeah.
got rent and employees. You know you can't get it. You can't go anywhere. You're like
You can't
those.
just block them.
You can't just block them, right? Yeah. Which is what happens. Which is what happens to me when I explain the science to people. They don't like that, so they do block me. I'm blocked by a lot of the sellers
Man,
because
it's because you're right.
I will go and just say like, hey, this is the science, and then they're like, block, block, no.
You didn't give me the answer that I wanted to hear, so I don't want to watch. I don't want to hear it anymore, dude. That's how a lot of people are in the reptile community, dude. This a little off topic, but like, dude, I have so many people like ask, like, I make a lot of tutorial videos on YouTube, right? And like, people will like message me on Instagram and like start asking for help for it. I'm not doing this and that right, dude. And like, dude, I have them often say, "Hey, I will pay you if you just tell me what to do." And I'm like, dude, I don't want your money in that way. Even
Yeah,
though it'd be nice, but then you'd be that dick. But dude, then I'll start asking questions, go over basics, and I give them an answer on what they did wrong, and it wasn't the answer they wanted to hear. And you know what they do? They unfollow me off Instagram or YouTube. And sometimes they block me, dude. Honestly, and it pisses me off. And I'm just going to
yeah,
say this. This may sound like a dick to any of my YouTube viewers, but if you ask me something about my videos through YouTube or Facebook, it kind of grinds my gears, dude. Why don't you comment? Just drop a comment on the video itself so I can answer a question publicly and help more people out. Or my business email. I know that sounds dickish, dude, but it's just like,
Yeah, you're a dick, dude.
I am a dick.
No,
No, seriously, like I said
no.
in the beginning of the
no,
podcast.
I want to read it too. So I think it makes sense.
Yeah. And if you guys ever want private one-on-one with me, feel free to join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month, and you support animal education. And I won't get grumpy because you're part
Yeah.
of my community now.
Or they could subscribe to your OnlyFans.
Only trans.
OnlyFans. Yeah, Ryan
Uh,
Trans. Anyways, guys, I got to get going.
Cool,
I
man.
thought that was a really good
mhm.
podcast live. I think we covered a lot of topics. We discussed a lot of things. I learned a lot, and I was able to, kind of get something that has been bothering me off my chest in a very productive, safe environment where I didn't just look like someone that's like trying to do this in terms of
A hater, a
a hater
hater.
or like a
You're such a
business,
hater, bro. You're doing it because
like
you're not making so much money off of like us on eggs. Ooh,
no,
bro.
I mean, like I think that the sale of chameleon eggs impacts every chameleon breeder's business at like a reptile show or online. And it's unfortunate, but that's not what this is about. This was just about the ethics behind it, the trauma that comes along with it. And yeah, it was very good. Thank you guys for everything.
Yeah, and
Non-grumpy Ryan, that doesn't exist, Bill.
yeah, and I want to thank you guys so much for coming on today. Like this has been fun. It's kind of like these live streams and podcasts are kind of like therapy. And I hope for anyone who watches this stream during the live or even afterwards, I hope you guys can take away that like no one's really against about making money off the chameleon eggs. It's more about the ethics because we do truly care about the trauma. Like
The people
most
and the chameleons.
because, like, dude, we've all been the first time chameleon keeper. We've all go through certain traumas with it, and we don't want people to start going through trauma because of an egg. And I'll say this right now: out of the whole entire reptile community and hobby, chameleons don't even make 1%. So it is really important for us to grow the chameleon community as keepers and breeders, dude. So like, let's
Yeah.
just do the best we can and try to take care of each other. And even though he's not part of this show, if you guys ever want some really good information, check out the Chameleon Academy podcast.
Yeah.
And another plug for my boys right here. If you guys go down to the video link description below, you can guys go to Morph Market, Facebook, and Instagram for John and Mitch. You guys can find beautiful chameleons if you're looking for that really juicy yellow body blue bar. Check out John below. And if you're looking for some really cool hybrids and some other passionate chameleon projects,
Some
real quick,
Babas, Mitzios, Ambilobes, Nosy Bays. I'm not just a designer hybrid. Oh, and by the way, since I actually hatched out a true hybrid, giant spiny cross Panther Chameleon, I've altered the name since I started it of the cross locale hybrids to cross locale hybrid or cross locale designer hybrid Panther Chameleon. That's what those are called. And now we're going to have a whole new line and world of our true hybrid chameleons if it's successful.
And again, if you guys are interested in watching his journey from the good, the bad, the ugly, and just the damn straight truth, you better show that side too. Just the truth. Follow his Instagram. And, maybe we'll have to do a podcast on it sometime. And, also, I want to say, guys, I really want to get John's story more out too, as well as someday on this channel. I want to get more to like some of his history and dude, John's a really like good breeder, guys. Like he sticks to what he really believes to. I look up to him too in good ways. I'm not going to give him the reach around, but like, dude, he's a really good breeder and his ethics are really good. And I love the way that he kind of helps push modern keeping with chameleons forward. And so I'm going to eventually have him on this channel for a podcast for just a one-on-one to hear his story and talking about the advances of chameleon husbandry. So expect that coming up here probably in the next month or so, something like that.
You got to ask him first.
Oh, I did talk to him a while ago, but I got off track with life. But yeah. But okay, guys, I want to say thank you again for you guys coming on and to everyone who watched here today. And if you're new here, consider subscribing because I guarantee you somewhere throughout the channel, you'll find just a little bit of value. My name's Ryan, and I'm your host, Ryan. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one.
Peace out, guys. Have a great day.
Laters.